When I pursued you, I had a vibrant smile and a zealous heart. As time went by, I ignored the flags that would keep us apart. As time went by, you extinguished my dancing smile and my desiring heart. All because when I socialized with mankind, your insecurities couldn't help but take part. You tried to kill my spirit by putting me in a jail that had nothing on Rikers. A jail that could be as hot as a trek through the valley of death for hikers and as cold as a frozen lake with no admirers. You tried to violate me like a master does his slave, create an environment where I was no longer brave, putting my mind and body in a conspicuous change that failed to bring peace. Now I know why they call you the beast. You tried to send me down a dark, lonely road where most people lose their mind, a road where people tend to kill for the first time, a road where light never comes because a grave marker was assigned. You claimed to have integrity, but you lied about Princess Dame. You said she was just a friend, so I accepted the claim. But when you called me by her name, I knew there was more to the claim of friends taking a trip to the beach without aim. I knew there was more to the story of why she sided with T and dispersed expressions of derogatory. I knew there was more to the demand to be silent with your family, but I went along with the command to keep the peace in my sanity. Superficial with them is the way you told me to be, because if I didn't, the consequences would come swiftly. Funny thing is, you always stressed to me to be honest, to be real, but your actions were hypocrisy. Shacking up, you claimed, was against your morality, but we did for 3 years, and now it's with her. Seems commonality. We lived together, slept together, breathed together, yet you still could not figure out the code of my design or get past the gates of my temple, which was guarded like a shrine. You didn't know how to peel back the layers of my true essence because you were too busy talking to me like an adolescent. Going downtown is an action you say you detest, but you always accepted BJ without protest. But I digress. You tried to break me down by telling me I wasn't good enough and warned me that you were not a stranger to laying fisticuffs. Always building other people up while you tore me down. It didn't matter to you if my eyes formed a frown. I pray that God would soften your words, calm your anger, and heal your heart. But I knew that your oppression would be hard to depart. You told me to change, but you refused to change. You could be you, but I couldn't be me, which sounds so deranged. You said you had to stay this small to ride this ride. Was that because your ego was so enormous in size? You tried to beat me down with your words and your threats. You were so bold and so brazen that having an audience didn't halt your dragnets, and you never broke a sweat. Witnesses turned a blind eye to your depress because it doesn't affect their mindsets. And although many tend to leave Jonestown after being a victim of your excess, some have regrets and return nevertheless. And like Manson and Koresh, you tend to impress those that are credulous, falling for your charm and seemingly trustworthiness. You tried to hide your indiscretions by having your model student advocate for you. But when your plan took on a life of its own, word got around town she was sharing her pieces with others, including you. You decided to blame me because there was no possible way your covert actions would come to light someday. You should not be surprised when you and your advocate shared food together, sat together, and huddled to talk. And let's not forget the traveling y'all did and took pictures that would show a spark. Oh, and then there is Chicago, where you would claim to go dancing, but only y'all really know if it was a night for romancing. So after I shanked your advocate and exposed the Miss Daisy affair, you freed me from the association and I flowed on without despair. I made a motion that would lead me on a journey back to me, a journey to heal bruises that came from this fruitless tree. Then you tried to take me down after you tasted your own medicine. Now that it's over, I am no longer reticent. In order to restrain me, you attempted to complete, but your control over me will remain obsolete. When bullies can't take the heat, they get out of the kitchen. And when things don't go their way, they tend to resort to snitching. Miss Daisy cried assault because she's weak just like you. But little do you know, you're not the only instructor Miss Daisy has taken a liking to. The Miss Daisy and Advocate fan club is not as full as you think, especially in the camp that's in need of a shrink. When Miss Daisy declared it's real, I wonder what she meant. Because I know that love is rarely declared by you without deliberate intent. There was that one day, sometime early on, when I affirmed my love for you and you passed it on. Although it was probably a fluke or misstep on your part, because those words from your lips would never again for me to part. It is all too familiar the way she chauffeurs you around and poses with your direction for the camera around town. It is all too familiar the way she sits along with the stare and barely moves as she watches you try to dance with a flare. It will all be too familiar when the spark in her eyes will soon fade with the smile she had at one time. It will all be too familiar when her presence decreases in the things she once loved and relationships she once nurtured, she'll become neglectful of. They say that karma is a dog of some kind which barks and bites and comes at the most inconvenient time. The good book says that you reap what you sow, and a weapon formed against me won't prosper, just in case you didn't know. The line between love and hate can be razor thin, especially when you treat me in ways that are considered a sin. Some say I should forgive, but it's hard to forget. So for now, I'll enjoy the sun and will no longer stress.